everybody. It's Joy,
And it's Tim.
and we are back for our 25th episode of Live and Found.
And today we're going back to the signals and we're going to talk about Signal 7 and what that means in the whole Found First Foundation. And Signal 7 is essentially how does AI understand you and what you're trying to tell AI what you do?
And that's changed.
Oh, it's changed big time.
I mean,
Um, I
we're,
think
we're
Well, a lot of
surprised.
times, oh, go ahead.
We're surprised how much things have changed.
It when we originally back in August expanded because remember we started with 5 signals and then we grew to 8 and now we have 9 and so we're going to talk about signal 8 next week and signal 9 the following week. But signal 7 was, you know, we kind of were like, does it really mean that lot? It felt to me it felt like at the time one of the weakest. But with things changing with AI, it is now as important, if not one of the most important signals you need to do.
Well, and what is Signal 7?
Now, Signal 7 is it's about usability. It's if AI can interpret your content, it won't. If it can't interpret your content, it won't reuse it. So it's about being clear. So if we were to summarize what Signal 7 is, Signal 7 is how clear can you make it to AI?
Well, and it used to be um, AI would kind of fill in the gaps. And I think that's one of the biggest changes we have seen is AI is not filling in the gaps. It's not interpreting anything. It's um, it's moving on if it can't read your content or understand it or it's not structured the right way. Um, yeah, it's all about usability.
You know, we talk a lot about, I think there's been like I want to say like 3 phases of AI. The first phase that really started AI was all about SEO and
Mhm.
how did you rank. And AI did look at that and try to determine, well, this must be an authority. But then AI started evolving and saying, are they an authority? And really questioning, does SEO mean authority? And it's saying no. What authority is now is how well do I understand you and how well can I tell somebody about you? And that's become what it is today. Is if you're not clear, like if you write, let's take for example, you have on your website, you have about us, and your about us is a long, rambling history of, we started our company back in 1951 in the back of a shoe shine stand in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and you give this long narrative, AI is going to go, I don't have time for that. Now, I'm personifying AI, but it's kind of saying, I don't have time for that. So, what you want to do is you want to make things clear and upfront for AI. Quick. This is what we do. This is how we do it. This is why we do it.
And
And
your website has really become the tool for AI to be your brochure, for lack of a better word. And it's so clear on how it wants your website to be structured. And I have this conversation a lot. AI doesn't care how pretty it is. AI doesn't care, about a bunch of stuff. And what it does care about is the structured data, the clear content, the logic, the organization. That's what a business can do to sell itself to AI. What's critical is understanding that our age people will Google, but generations after us are not even going to know what Googling is.
Right. Well, I think the greatest analogy I have for that is we know what a phone book is. When we were growing up, if you wanted to find a number for a business, you went to the yellow pages and you looked it up. Today, if I were to say to, let's say, a 14-year-old, well, it's in the yellow pages, they would look at me like I had just grown a horn out of my head because they have no idea what the yellow pages are.
And it's the same with phones. You think about everybody had a phone in their house or a phone on the wall. Nobody has that anymore. Everybody has instant access, and bringing it back to AI and the usability of your content, what we're always impressed with and never cease to be amazed by is how quickly AI is changing. And having it get smarter, faster, or training it more quickly, it's kind of like, you're feeding the devil almost. Like you have to keep evolving and changing all the time to be able to stay at the top. And when I say at the top, I don't mean at the top. I mean to be the answer. I shouldn't have said at the top. I should say be the answer.
I like that. I think what you want to be is you want to be, again, I'm going to use the personification of AI. You want to be at the tip of AI's tongue. You want to be the first one that AI, if it says, I'm looking for a plumber in Denver, Colorado, you want to be the one that AI goes, this is where you want to go because I understand what they do and they do this and they do this and they do this.
Well, and let's talk about some of the things you don't want to have. We talk a lot of times about how to be clear, how to be structured, but let's talk about some things that you don't do. The things that confuse AI. What are those things?
Well, I think number one, to me, I think being unclear. If you are unclear, like we talked earlier, if you write a rambling discussion on something and you are not clear in that process, then AI is going to skip you. And that includes being cute.
Yeah.
If you don't say it in, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. AI really loves it when you can say something in 10 words or less.
Lists. I mean, lists are
gold. Yes.
Top 5 reasons, top 3 reasons, comparison, those type of things. Long, pointless content on your website or anywhere else is not going to sell yourself to AI. And there's a difference between, we want long content, in-depth content for blogs that's research-based, logic-based, shows your authority. That's where you have long content. Short bursts of information like lists, infographics, comparisons, those type of things that AI can crawl and do it fast and get an answer is what it's looking for.
Where the power of the blog is editable. And what I mean by that is AI can look through your blog and say, all right, this section, I can take a bite out of this. And in this section, I can take a bite out of this. And this section, I can take a bite out of this. And that is so important. And, the power of lists goes hand in hand with the power of bullet points.
Yes.
The power of bullet points for AI, they're quick, they're fast, and they're easily digestible. AI loves bullet points because it can just skim through that list and say, yep, good, good.
Yeah.
And go.
And, the day of cute is over. You're not going to sell AI on your cuteness or your funniness or your um, trying to be cheeky. That's not AI is looking for an answer. Whoever provides that answer in the format that AI wants truly wins. And what wins means is business.
Right. And we're coming back to, and what we're finding out, and we're doing some research and more research, but the more we delve into it, again, we come back to the S word, schema, and we're adding a new S word to it, sitemaps.
Yeah.
Schema and sitemaps are the two S words that AI is just, that's what it craves. That's what it wants. That's what it's looking for.
Well, and we're going to talk about this study that we've done more in upcoming weeks, but to that point, we looked at 209 women attorneys in Colorado, and one statistic that I was so surprised about is 14% or 14.5%, somewhere between 14 and 15%, AI couldn't even crawl their website. Talk about not being in the game. That's not even being in the game.
It's it, it I think you're exactly right. Um, the days, and we're coming back, and I know it's so important to say it. The days of you being high on SEO are not as important to AI as now. How clear are you? How concise are you? And how can AI crawl through your site, through your blog, through your FAQs, even your social media? How easily can it crawl through it, get the information it needs? Because it goes through, I know it only seems like seconds because it is, but it's going through thousands and thousands of permutations to get that answer.
Well, and for business, you know, this is great. I mean, you don't have to have the prettiest, the slickest, you have to have the best content in a logical, structured format that's easy to parse the data. You have to, I always use the analogy, and I think I'm going to trademark this because I say it so much. You have a business and your sitemap is your open sign. Okay, 15% of people don't even have an open sign for their business. So how would you know it was open? Then the floor plan of your business, if you can crawl it and it is open, is your schema markup. And over 80% of the study participants didn't have schema markup. And we're going to talk about that in depth, but that's like your floor plan, what offices are on what floor. And then your person schema markup is who you are, what business you're in, what you do. So that's like your office and your office sign and everything about you. That's just the gateway for AI. That's what we've learned this year. And we've been talking about AI visibility for a long time.
We're going on a year and a half, 2 years now. So yeah.
And we found out like this is the structure that AI is looking for. If it can't read your website, you're closed for business. If it can't read your floor plan, you're not going to be suggested. It needs to read your sitemap, it needs to read your floor plan, and then it needs to know your office. And if you can kind of keep it in that type of analogy or framework, then you kind of go, oh, that makes sense. I get it. So I have to open my door for business. I have to show AI where my business is, and then I have to tell them about me. Yep, that's exactly right.
And if you do those three things, you're way ahead of your competition because everybody's struggling to catch up.
Yeah.
And I think we hear a lot about, well, I'm doing everything right. Why isn't AI finding me? And I think that is what Joy just said is going to be the difference between being found consistently and being found every once in a while or not found at all is how is your schema set up and how's your sitemap set up? Is your business open? Does it have a clear plan in it? And do you tell it what exactly you do? You do those three things, you're going to be so much further ahead than your competition.
Yeah. And now is the time. I mean, Signal 7 is talking about the usability of your information, but what it's really telling us is AI has gotten so smart, it doesn't have to fill in the gaps. It can find the answer. And
It
if
finds
you're
the answer.
not, and if you're not the answer, you're not going to be recommended.
Well, and I think we're going back to what we initially said is AI is not going to fill in the gaps for you anymore. It used to do it back in August. It would do it for you, but it doesn't do it anymore because it needs that information. It wants the discussion back. It wants the answer back fast. And if it has to think about it longer than in a few nanoseconds, it's not going to, it's going to go on. It's going to move on to the next person or the next business and say, does this person answer the questions I need?
Well, and this is just another reason why it's so important. And I just read this morning that Google so it used to give you AI summaries or AI overview. Now it's going to give you an AI overview and dump you right in to an AI conversation. So it used to be you'd have an overview and then the listings, and now they're shifting away from that and going to go straight into the AI mode. In terms of search, that's a game changer. So they, as in Google, is directing your search path to go into an AI mode. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out because it's taking you away from Googling, I guess is how I want to say it.
I think, in my opinion, what we're going to be seeing is a rise in ChatGPT that we've already seen as being an answer. And I think Google's smart enough that they're going to adapt and adopt Gemini to be that way too. So I think Google's going to go away. Gemini is going to fill that void. ChatGPT is going to fill that void. And X is going to try to fill that void real soon because those are going to be the three things. And we all know that AI is part of our world because you can't even write a post now in Facebook or in LinkedIn without it saying, do you want AI to help you?
Yeah.
And so don't be afraid.
I said too, I had a meeting this week and I said in 10 years, and it's not even 10 years, people aren't even going to know what Googling is. So that's where we're heading. That's what we see. Think about your content and the usability of it. We do Live and Found every week because we're sharing what we know and what we're learning.
So the blog drops tomorrow. So check us out on your AI Wizards. Of course, we are always on LinkedIn. We are on Facebook. We are on X. And we moved back AI in Reach, right?
Yeah, we're doing that in March, the end of March.
We moved back AI in Reach because of I'll admit it, some health problems with this guy here. So
we want him on the road to recovery.
We're on a road to recovery, as is AI. So don't be worried if you're not being found now, because now and every day is the perfect time to fix. So read our blog and see how you can fix your Signal 7 and going forward, and follow us next week when we do Signal 8 on Live and Found. So this has been Tim
and Joy.
We will see you again next week, come heck or high water, for episode number 26 of Live and Found.
Awesome. See you soon.